All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 55 of the GGG Podcast. Got a good show for you today. Got some interesting news. We got a sale going on, especially if you are a PC gamer. And we actually got some fun releases this week as well. We're going to be talking about Dragon Age Veilguard for our main topic 2, now that Phil and I have finally had a chance to play. But first, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to our podcast, we'd appreciate it over on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio only version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow us over there as well. Phil, what's been going on this week? What have you been playing?
Oh, well, okay. I've been trying to play as much Veilguard as I can, which has for some reason not been that much. Granted, I've played through the intro a couple times to try and pick my main character.
Sure.
We'll get into that later, of course. But outside of that, yeah, it's pretty much just been Veilguard, and that's a good thing. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, did you have a good Halloween?
I did. I tell you what, I've spent a lot of time watching stuff because Agatha All Along had its the day before Halloween, had its finale. That was great. I waited a couple days to watch Penguin. That was amazing. That show has just continued to be excellent the entire way through.
Wow.
But
right on.
yeah, what are you playing and or watching? I guess this is the show now.
I have been still watching Snowpiercer. So I think I'm about to go into the last season, so that's good. And then yeah, I've been playing Veilguard like crazy. I had this weekend completely free, and so I was playing it way too much, and I love it so much. We will get into it for the main topic, so I'll save some of my thoughts. But yeah, I think I might have... Oh, I did. A friend of mine bought me Total War Warhammer 3 on Steam, which I'm not a big Total War guy, but, you know, it looks cool, and, you know, a lot of my friends are into the Warhammer universe. This is not Warhammer 40,000, for people confused about that out there. It's a little bit different, kind of, sort of.
It is the fantasy version of Warhammer.
It is the fantasy version of Warhammer. So I had a friend hop on Discord and walk me through the first hour of playing. We didn't even play together. He just I shared my screen and he coached me through the first hour. So it was pretty funny. But yeah. I've been having a good week. I had a good weekend. I had a fun Halloween. Happy Election Day, everyone out there, hopefully. So it's probably...
By the time you're listening to this, maybe you'll know
who won.
Probably not.
I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, let's get into the releases this week. And first up, we got Red Dead Redemption. Wait, Phil, didn't this game come out 14 years ago? I thought it came out 14 years ago. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The PC version got lost somewhere in a slipstream in time. It got jumbled around, and they re-released the game. Now, they got it, to be fair, about 6 months ago, and they up-res it to 4K, but then they've added nothing else to the game. They said, here it is, eat an entire butt, enjoy. $50.
Oh, please. Man, that's a stinky 1800s. Oh, I guess it's early 1900s in Red Dead Redemption, the first one. So.
Oh yeah, it's true. Well, it's a little maybe cleaner.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I know this announcement happened a while ago. They said they were going to be doing this, but why do you think they are re-releasing this game finally after 14 years?
I do think that maybe Grand Theft Auto 5 sales have begun to slow. And so they were just like, what can we do to make some more money? Pop this sucker out.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I guess this is a very cynical take, but why now? What's the point of doing it now? You haven't done it for 14 years. Why do this now? Why not instead take whatever resources you put into this and make an Undead Nightmare for Red Dead 2? Or do anything for Red Dead 2 Online ever.
Yeah. Yes, for real.
Yeah.
Please update Red Dead Online. Please, God. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I guess you're coming at it from the perspective is purely financial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If they cared what we thought, they'd have done this years ago.
That's true.
Right?
Oh,
Like,
Rockstar definitely does not care what people think. I'm not.
yes.
That is not up for debate. So, I guess I was trying to figure out if this could be like a market test or so. I guess that's the positive way of looking at it. Of like, oh, are they? Red Dead Redemption 2 has trended so well online, and even though I think it came out in like what 2017, something like that. So even though it's a 7-year-old game, it's trended so well, it's gotten popularity. So maybe they want to revive the online, or maybe they're going to move forward with 3. I don't know. I
It's
can't.
just crazy. It's I'm very cynical about it.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair.
Red Dead, or not Red Dead, next Grand Theft Auto was supposed to be 2025 or 2026.
It's either up for grabs. I think the original announcement was planned for holiday 2025, but they have said that it is possible they will delay it into 2026. And he's looking it up. He's going. All right.
It says set for release in fall 2025. So yeah, they just reached a pocket where they weren't printing money, and they're like, well, go ahead and send out old John Marston. That'll fix our problems.
All right. Well, moving right along. So I want to look up the Metacritic for this. We got Mario and Luigi Brothership. And I'll be honest, this is the first Mario game that has come out, at least in recent years, that has not been getting great reviews. So which is very curious. I sometimes feel people are reluctant to I guess crap on a Mario game. Metacritic's actually still pretty good, so it's still got an 80 overall on Metacritic. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, Destructoid gave it a 60, and then I thought I saw like IGN give it a bad score.
Digital Trends gave it a 2.5 out of 5. That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
IGN gave it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think it was IGN that I saw the 5 out of 10. I was like, woof. IGN does not give out 5s out of 10 to Nintendo games. Like, that doesn't happen, really. So it was very jarring to me. But interesting. Do you think that its Metacritic at 80 is some like Mario loyalty going on? Or
no, I do think that the negative review is like the safe Nintendo game to crap on, so that you don't have a like IGN.
Okay.
IGN is known to be like, the least edgy in terms of video. Like, they have the everything's a 7 mentality. The AAA things are at least an 8. So I think they were like, all right, we got to pick one Nintendo game to crap on so they don't call us shills. This is going to be the one. Let old Luke get at it. He'll write some mean words about it.
Sure.
This is partially a joke, but I think also like the zeitgeist. Sorry, old Logan, get at it. But I do think the zeitgeist around this type of stuff is they are constantly like IGN is at a place where they are kind of like constantly at odds with themselves and their fans, trying to balance out their like review scores.
Sure.
Like, I think that's got to be part of the conversation.
Yeah. So you think that it's more like we got to keep our fan base happy, kind of a thing. So, like, if people are pointing out that we're always giving high review scores to Mario, maybe we should take the opportunity to give a low one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very, very astute analysis, Phil. Coming in with the big ideas this week.
I'm doing some 200 IQ review plays right now. No, I'm just saying. Looking at the rest of it, like, it's all pretty good, like good to greats.
Yeah.
So I do think it's kind of wild for IGN to come out swinging with this, but they do that from time to time. From time to time.
I mean, even IGN Spain gave it a 9 out of 10. So very, very different review.
Well, the Spanish love Brotherhood.
Yes, we do. All right. Next up on the list, we got Planet Coaster 2. I wanted to bring this one up because my girlfriend is a huge Roller Coaster Tycoon fan, and Planet Coaster is really the only spiritual successor to such a game nowadays. And it's getting pretty good reviews. It's got an 8 over on IGN, right in the pocket of where we expected a amusement park roller coaster builder simulator would be. So that's nice that it's not like crapping the bed like the last SimCity to ever come out. But yeah, I mean, did you ever play that game, Phil? The most recent SimCity?
Yeah, I did. I played it for probably like 10 hours, and then I kind of bounced off.
Right.
Because as much as I always want to love sim games, I don't think they're for me. I didn't think it was particularly bad, but I'm also not like, I've never played City Skylines, and I feel like that is the thing that has subverted and supplanted SimCity.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think the major complaint with the latest SimCity, which was so many years ago now, but was simply that you could only build, you had to build multiple cities, and one city did this thing, and another city did this thing, and so you were dependent on other cities, and which is a cool concept, but it went against the traditional I want to create the super city. I want to create New York City or something like that, so.
I know there was a lot of restrictions, too, when the game came out. And, also,
there was
a lot of performance issues, so.
Yes. But yeah, it's good to see.
Planet Coaster looks great.
It does. It's good to see another, sandbox simulator. I think I might encourage my partner to check this out if she's into it. So we will see. All right, and what's last
I feel like these games are the Jurassic World games that came out recently.
Yeah.
I feel like these are those games are pretty good at what they did. I think these two games kind of go hand in hand. This seems like the more silly, fun version of it, and that game is a little bit more serious because of the Jurassic Park label.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just happy that both these exist. There is competing big names making these types of games, and forcing each other to get better.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You sound like me.
Yeah.
You're I want Microsoft to try, so Sony tries harder.
Yeah.
I don't want them to quit.
Nintendo's doing its own thing.
Yeah.
We're never going to talk about them. It's going to do great. On to our last new release this week. Actually, releases today. Metal Slug Tactics. If you're like me, you threw away countless quarters in the lobby of your movie theater playing Metal Slug. Metal Slug is a great 2D shooter, very violent, but also weirdly cartoony. You play as these one of two characters who would go around. You get gun upgrades. You shoot lots of enemy soldiers. Really, really fun. Metal Slug Tactics is taking that visual style, giving us the 2.5D angle at it, and making a roguelite RPG kind of in the same way that Final Fantasy Tactics existed. So little squares of land where you're doing engages, special characters, growth over time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested in the idea. I love tactics games.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, there have been lots of tactics games that I don't know, do you ever play Final Fantasy Tactics?
I missed Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay. All right, yeah. I don't know. I've never... I'm very curious about this and would love your insight because tactics games are just not something that I really participate in.
Interesting.
So yeah. Are you planning on picking this up?
Eventually, yeah. I think I'm going to pick it up. I'm trying to I've over budgeted on Magic the Gathering stuff, and we'll have to talk about that
right,
at another time. But I'm very excited about it. I think... have you ever played the XCOM games?
Oh yeah, I've played the XCOM games. I've played Gears Tactics. So I guess I don't never play them. But I don't know. There's at a certain point I get aggravated with XCOM or the Gears of War Tactics games because I'm like, how did you miss? They were right in front of you.
There.
They're right in front of you. It's like I just
90%.
I rolled a 1. Is that what you're freaking telling me? And that if I'm playing actual Gears of War games, I'm never missing that shot. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So I guess it feels like this in between of like you're playing D&D sort of. But I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not what I'm used to. So
yeah. That's and Marvel Midnight Suns was like kind of the middle ground.
oh
I don't know if
yeah,
you played that one.
I loved I played Marvel Midnight Suns. I went back and played all that DLC with Deadpool and Venom and Morbius, for God's sakes. So
it's great because it just like the hits just work. Like that's a nice like superheroes don't miss. Here you go, enjoy.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so another tactics game to add to the foray. Some of the reviews, I think it's getting around to 79, which is pretty good. They're saying seemingly that I think there's like a lack of encounter design. So that's probably the underwhelming part. But,
okay.
As someone who just sort of
encounter
likes, like,
design,
the
what does
battles,
what does that mean? Encounter design.
So like in a roguelite, when you go from like one stage to the next, like think Binding of Isaac, when you go down one level, it randomizes the fights. Or Hades, for example.
Yeah.
I think it probably just has a lot of encounters that seem repetitive. Like probably
it's more like a standard template rather than a constantly generating thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting. Well, maybe they'll patch it. Who knows?
Yeah, they'll probably add stuff.
Yeah, they'll patch it. They'll put it on sale for Christmas. You'll get it cheap. I'll get
it for $7. That's
$7. That's where he that's where he values it at. All right. Speaking of $7, we got some. Yeah, thank you. I liked your approval nod. We got a huge PC gaming sale going on, and people out there, we love to point out sales. I love a deal. Phil loves a deal. And there is a website called Fanatical, and fanatical.com is doing a birthday bash, or I believe a birthday bash sale. And so they have tons of pretty gosh darn good PC games for cheap prices. Phil, were there any of these sales that you specifically wanted to point out? I know there's lots that I'd be interested in.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So going alphabetically, Black Myth Wukong, $9 off, not bad. But the Dishonored Complete Collection, which is Dishonored 1, 2, and the Death of the Outsider, $14, usually $80. Woo! Dragon Ball Fighter Z, the Fighter Z edition. So all the characters for $13. That game ages so well because it looks just like the anime. So good. Dragon's Dogma 2 down from $70 to $37. You could get both Fallout 3 and 4 Game of the Year edition for $13. I don't know. It's all very, very good. Resident Evil 4 for $16.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's the new one. It says it's down from 40. Let me just double check. Yep, that's the new one.
Mm-hmm.
So SteamWorld Dig, SteamWorld Heist, SteamWorld Heist 2 are all on pretty intense sales. So I would definitely suggest hitting these up. V Rising, $21. Not a huge sale, but down from 35.
Yeah, I mean it did just release on consoles, so I feel like the price went back up, which is weird, but that's what happened. But yeah, great deal. Would definitely recommend V Rising for nobody who's played it before. I see so many great deals on here, including Warhammer 3, Total War Warhammer 3 that I just pointed out I was playing earlier. So that's on there. Starfield, a favorite complaint of mine, down to $42 instead of $70. I think that's about what the game is actually worth. Is probably $40. So maybe
there's something else on the Street Fighter 6, which just came out to really, really great reviews. But there was one other thing that I was more excited about. Oh, Monster Hunter Iceborne Deluxe Edition, which comes with Monster Hunter World and then Monster Hunter Iceborne, which is like the size of a whole other game jammed together. So if you played the beta for Monster Hunter Wilds and you're feeling hot and happy for more monsters, this is like a solid 120 hours of monsters for you.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know if I want to get back into that before Wilds comes out. I think I can just wait.
Just really OD on it, you know what I mean?
Your favorite game, You Want to Be Good, Fallout 76 is $9.
So good. Also free on PlayStation Network and Xbox.
All right. Well, that's a lot of the highlights. If you're interested in PC sales, you didn't buy anything on the Steam Halloween sale, you still have an opportunity to get some deals. It's over, like I said, on fanatical.com. This link is from GameSpot, so it is a reliable website. So that's good. All right. Well, let's press on. Phil, you added this Pokemon story to the agenda. What's going on in the Pokemon world?
Well, not just Pokemon, but the Pokemon trading card game has finally done what we'd all hope it would do and hopped its way out of little pieces of cardboard right into our phones. That's right. Pokemon TCG Pocket. Pocket Monsters is what Pokemon is short for, and they've added another pocket to this game. So over 10 million people have downloaded it worldwide, and it is making $3 million a day so far. And I believe that it came out November. I think it came out like October 31st or November 1st.
Okay.
So it had passed 10 million downloads by the second.
Wow. So really just over the weekend, essentially.
It just popped off. I know a lot of people who are playing this game. It is not the exact one-to-one analog for the Pokemon trading card game. It is like a 20-card deck, so it's very reduced. Seems pretty cool. Like, it seems like the sort of Marvel Snapified version of Pokemon, the trading card game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very excited to give that a shot. But man, the fact that they've made so much money
that is just crazy
in such a short time is crazy.
And they're like, you know what? We need to sue Pal World.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Listen, I collect Magic cards. Like silly that this piece of cardboard has monetary value. It's just cardboard with a little funny picture on it. I like that. Support art, support game design.
Sure.
But in essence, they are selling us cardboard for buckets of money. And they have found a step further back from that, which is sell you not even NFTs, sell you pictures of that cardboard in a file. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool, very impressive, but also, damn, we don't know nothing.
I mean, yeah, they figured it out. I definitely don't have the headspace to run a business like that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
you have what's called a soul, and in the biz that is going to hold you back.
Ah, man, the stock market doesn't like souls. Yeah, keep going.
I think it's impressive though. Pokemon, Pokemon Go did this. Pokemon lights the world on fire. It is the biggest IP in the world, I think.
Yeah, I do have to commend them. I really didn't think Pokemon would be popular for this long. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really just like a popular thing for our generation, and that has not been the case. It started with our generation, but it is really like transcended generations, and it is just an IP that anybody younger than us, knows something about Pokemon. So, so it is commendable. So what's not commendable is waiting for this never-ending Switch announcement, which Nintendo likes to be like, hey, we're going to announce. Oh, okay, Nintendo. When are you going to announce the Switch 2? Well, we're going to. Okay, cool. And that's
at some point.
At some point. So this latest budgetary report kind of implies from Nintendo that they wouldn't be announcing the Switch 2 until the next fiscal quarter, which would probably mean a February or perhaps March release date. But they did confirm that it will be announced within that range of time. And that's as specific as they could get. And so essentially the only concrete statement is we will announce a Switch 2 within the next 5 months, which means not right now.
Between now and the end of the unraveling of time, immortal.
Yep.
We will announce that the Switch 2 is something that might one day exist. This, like, even to get an announce, I don't know how long ago the Switch came out. I think it was, 2017, 2016?
Oh, man. I'll look it up. I'll look it up right now.
Sorry. But it feels like it's been about a decade. Like, the Switch feels like one of the oldest pieces of hardware to still exist. And it's still very impressive, but damn, we need a Switch 2.
Yeah, so it looks like it was released in March 2017, and I think the reason you feel that way is because when it was released in 2017, it's like this doesn't have the best hardware in it, which has never been Nintendo's thing. They're never gonna put the fastest chip in there, and also like to the Switch's credit, it's a portable device. And that honestly, for coming out in 2017 as a portable device, I think it plays a lot of things great. But when you don't release something with the most up-to-date hardware, it's going to age faster than other things do. And so we're really starting to feel that. And I think that Nintendo got the sense that their game developers are starting to feel that. And I think even within the last couple of years with their games, it's just kind of like, we can do what we've done before. But I feel like Animal Crossing and the latest Zelda were kind of like the last huge Switch games that really did innovative things. And so I want there to be new hardware for Nintendo so they can continue to innovate, because that's what they do best. They do the same franchises over, but they apply new ideas to them. And I want to see those new ideas come to fruition. So yeah. All right.
I mean, I think they're trying to squeeze out one more holiday, right? Like one more holiday with the Switch. If I was them,
Swan Song.
But announcing it like in December of the year before it comes out, people was like, well, I won't buy one then. I'll just wait.
Yeah.
So I get it, but also you guys should have announced it earlier and then also given it to us so we could give you more money.
All right. Yes. Pressing on. So Amy Henning, mostly known for working on the Uncharted series over at Naughty Dog. She also did, she's worked on loads of games. Jak 3, one of my favorite games as a kid, as well as she was working on a announced Star Wars game that never came to light, which was very disappointing. I have a feeling it was something in the realm of Star Wars Outlaws, but not for babies.
It was Star Wars 1313. You were playing as like a young smuggler in I can't remember exactly where, but basically it was like 1313 was this level of this planet that was like where all the scum and villains lived, and it was an Uncharted style game.
Yeah.
And I think it was revealed years after the game was canceled and abandoned that you were going to play as a young Boba Fett.
Yes.
And all that coupled with Amy Hennig working on it was very, very exciting. I believe her last big game was the game with the talking bracelet.
Oh boy.
A lady who does like magic. Forspoken.
Oh, okay. That's a little disappointing. But she's also worked on Battlefield Hardline. And then, so when you were talking about the Star Wars game, I know what you're talking about, Star Wars 1313. As Boba Fett, you're on Coruscant. But I think there was actually another Star Wars game, and it could have been 1313 reassembled.
She was working on 1313, and then there was another one where you're going to play as a Jedi in like a long-term RPG that was still on the docket like as of 2 years ago, and now seemingly is just
has been axed, and instead we're playing Star Wars Outlaws. But so anyway, the point is that she has gotten a new job and is in charge of her own gaming studio, although she's not doing it without help. Skydance. Skydance is known for making movies and other media productions. So they are opening a games development department, and Amy Henning will be heading that company. So that's really exciting to hear. And I think honestly, it's a great fit because Amy Henning is she's really good at doing story narrative driven video games, and I think that translates easily to a larger company that owns them of people who make movies. And so I think this is a good marriage, and I think hopefully they will give her the tools she needs to make good games, because I feel like since she's come off of working with Naughty Dog, she's kind of bounced around from project to project. And, as we just said, 2 unreleased Star Wars games that we could have had that might have been really interesting.
Yeah.
So
Skydance's games include Skydance's Behemoth, which is a pretty popular VR game that's come out in the past couple of years. Sort of like, think Skyrim meets Battle of the or something of the Colossus, Shadow of the Colossus.
Right.
Also, Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners, and part 2 of that, which is a pretty cool like zombie survival VR game. Archangel, which is a cool mech fighting game from years ago. But a lot of their stuff has been VR. Notably, they are working on the 1943 Rise of Hydra Marvel game, and they have an unannounced project coming up with Star Wars. So it does seem like at least some of Amy's projects and some of Amy's like past the flings in terms of production will come through.
Yeah.
I know that she wrote on Forspoken with an actor that I know named Todd Stashwick. And he is one of the people writing for 1943 Rise of Hydra. So it seems like she's kind of getting to form her own little pocket of people she likes to work with and create stuff with. So that's very exciting. I have the highest regards for her, but I'm also like a little like, okay, well, we know one thing went really, really well.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm good. I'm glad that Skydance Media has dipped their toes into games before just like going all the way. So that's nice to hear. Right on. All right. Moving on to our next story. So Hogwarts Legacy 2 has been confirmed and in production. And with Warner Brothers doing their universe expansion and their franchise whoring out that they've been doing with everything and these new Lord of the Rings shows coming, even though they sold some of the rights to Amazon, and then they got jealous that they did a Lord of the Rings show, and so now they want to do one. And did you see the thing about Ian McKellen be like, I'm the only one who should play Gandalf? And it's like, you realize there's somebody.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's somebody on TV right now playing Gandalf. Did you know that?
Gandalf,
like, what are we talking about? So,
I don't ever want one actor to play anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's especially
very anti that.
Yeah, it's really weird, especially like a theater head be like, "Oh, okay. So one person should play Macbeth." What are you talking about?
Yeah,
so anyway, Hogwarts Legacy 2, the reason we're bringing this up, its story will at the very least be related to a new Hogwarts or Harry Potter themed show that will be debuting on Max, Warner Brothers streaming service. And so this is pretty interesting, and I think it continues a precedent we talked about a couple episodes ago, where we were talking about Space Marine 2 and it being tied to Secret Level, not just using it as a licensing thing, but actually connecting it narratively through the story. So this is very interesting, where we're actually seeing a push and pull, a give and take between video games and movies and TV shows, where the stories actually can flow as one, as opposed to either not being related at all or going way back to when we were really young, where you had video games that were being designed using the movie plot, which never works for a video game. And so it ends up being a horrible story. And it also is a game that's released on the movie schedule. And so it's always buggy and everything. So thankfully that time has passed. But yeah, interesting precedent here. What do you think, Phil?
I think that it is kind of interesting that they're gonna so it's supposed to tie in with the show, right? For HBO,
Yes.
which is going to be one book per season, retelling of the Harry Potter movies. So I'm trying to figure out how they would do that, right? Like, what are they going to do to tie in? I mean, if you're creating fiction around that time in the universe, sure, that's fun. But uh, I'm wondering if there will be like bits that you watch in the show that will reveal things in the game,
Hmm.
like oh, there's this secret room that someone's entering, and after you watch it that week, like to go say a certain code word to a painting to get into a room. I don't know
That
how otherwise they would tie it into something that already exists, you know?
Yeah. So where are you getting? So you said that the TV show is going to be a retelling of the Harry Potter movies. That's what it's going to be.
That's what it's going to be. Yeah, or it's a retelling of the books. So the TV series is in the works at Max, and they are currently casting Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Uh,
What?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god! I didn't know this. That's awful. What? Just do a
Here's my
new
thing.
story. Oh my god! All right.
I do think I want. This is how if you were going to do Harry Potter for me, like okay, you know what? If you're going to don't reboot the movies, just like make a series. Every book series it's like this where there's a lot of stuff. Just make a series, put it on Max. Don't do movies because the movies are always going to lose something. And granted, the first like three movies I feel like were pretty spot on, but then the books started getting thick, and movie theaters could only let people sit in them for like 3 hours. So, um,
Well,
yeah, that's where I'm a little confused.
yeah, and now I'm super confused because I'm bewildered by that fact. I think one of the things that gave the original Hogwarts Legacy a lot of narrative freedom was the time period it was based in, because it was based in the 1800s. So it's like it was far enough removed from anything related to Harry Potter. So it was just kind of like, this is the universe, but it's not like, we're not going to bring up Voldemort or anything like that. And so now this is very confusing. So, and because the game is Hogwarts Legacy, it's going to take place at Hogwarts. So I don't really understand a game where it's like, oh, we're the B squad of Harry, Hermione, and Ron, and we're doing the other important stuff. That doesn't sound like a good game to me, or a good story to tell. So I really hope it's not that. So
I would love a story about the kids at Hogwarts who just discovered the magic of having a pistol and how that could stop Voldemort in his tracks. A Vodka.
those muggles, they figured a number of things out, didn't they?
They just figured out how to throw rocks really fast. I get what also could be interesting. I mean, like if you want to take it, doing a modern day version of Hogwarts in the game could be interesting because you are far enough. You're not that far removed, but you're far enough removed where there could be a new threat that maybe no one's taking seriously.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm Warner Brothers tends to like to mess things up.
Yeah, they do. They really do. So, okay. Well, we'll see. We gotta wait. I'm gonna listen for this one. That would be. This whole thing sounds disappointing to me now because I frankly think Hogwarts Legacy last year was the most underrated game last year. And I get that a lot of people were reluctant to give it focus because of J.K. Rowling and her political, feelings and everything like that. And while I will not argue against that, I do feel like the people who worked on Hogwarts Legacy did make a really good game and did try to work around the political implications and everything like that. So I hope that the second one is good and that Warner Brothers doesn't spoil things like you just mentioned.
Hooray!
Yes. All right. Let's press on. So we got a small little story about Dragon Age, and then we're gonna get into talking about Dragon Age Veilguard finally. All right. So there's been some interviews with some lead writers over at EA, people working on Dragon Age, and they talked about how they creatively have an idea for the Uber arc of the Dragon Age series as a whole and where they would like to see the Dragon Age series go. But it sounds like that arc that they would like to work toward would be finite. And so it's like if they ended it, they would really want to end it. And so while they have been able to make games about important events that happen in the Dragon Age universe, they feel like they're not necessarily working toward an ultimate ending. And I'm sure that's pressure with EA because nobody wants to just end a franchise that they know they can make money on. So,
yeah.
But it is, for me, I do like to hear that a writer has that stuff in mind because it tells me that they actually have a creative direction that they're trying to move towards, even if the board members upstairs are like, well, we're not going to go there. And like, this is the opposite of what like Destiny did, where it's like, we don't know. We don't know. I don't know. Do you know? Maybe. So, yeah.
Maybe the story is the friends you made along the way.
Yep, exactly. So I'm always reassured to hear that somebody has a plan of what they're doing creatively.
Honestly, again, this is why I wish I was born rich and then could decide to go be on a board for EA.
Yeah.
So I could be like, no. Bros, hold on. As soon as I smash this rail, I have a really good sentence. Let them finish it, and then make a new game. But like in the Dragon Age universe, just what I'm trying to think of the. There is a fantasy game that is set like in the future of a D&D world, Shadowrun. Have them do like Dragon Age is basically D&D. Have them do a Shadowrun version of that, where it is like sort of an action RPG, but in a future or even like modern future cyberpunk world where there are also elves and goblins and cars and like I feel like that is an element that is not explored in a lot of fiction now, and would be a really cool way to be like, we're still within the universe. This story that happened thousands of years ago ended, but we could do more. Like, I think Dragon Age is such a rich story setting that you could totally end a story, and there would be plenty of places to pick up and go from.
Sure. Absolutely. But I don't know. Maybe the story is so big, it's like a Mass Effect event. It's like, you don't know where to go after this.
They give us a red, a green, and a blue ending, and if you pick the green ending, everybody's half elf and half tree, or whatever.
That's pretty good. All right, so let's get into actually talking about Dragon Age Veilguard. We talked about it a little bit last week, but it was before the game officially had come out, and Phil and I had not had a chance to play it. So now that we have actually gotten our hands on it, and we can address many of the complaints that people have been posting online. And again, this is not everybody. I think on Metacritic right now, Veilguard has an 84, if I'm correct, and it's been scoring anywhere from a 7 to a 10. But for whatever reason, it's been attracting a lot of hate across the internet. I have a feeling that a lot of that is some wokeness business inserting its ugly head again. But what are your general thoughts on your experience of the game so far, Phil?
Well, I can say I have enjoyed it enough, and this is where I'll get back to what I brought up in the very beginning. I enjoyed it enough to play the intro 3 times because I really wanted to find out what type of character I wanted to make. I've said in the past of Dragon Age Inquisition, I was like, okay, a magic user feels okay because the combat was still floaty and like the timing was really weird. So magic felt right for that. In Inquisition, or no, in Veilguard, I have found that the combat is such a tick up that I didn't really want to play a magic user. Like, I wanted to play someone with a little bit more like of that crunchy, grindy feel because they made it feel so good in this game. The character designs and decisions in the beginning, like you getting to meet everyone, where you find Rook, the main character, it's all just so fun and fast and doesn't feel like it's weighing you down in the way that some fantasy games or some fantasy settings do.
100% agree.
You're just like, boom, into the action, you start going, and they do a good job of telling you about these characters as you're playing. you also get to reveal bits of your history as like you're setting up different parts of your room. There's a lot of really clever little things that they do to give you bits to color in the story. But I think maybe people were expecting that this game was going to be Baldur's Gate, where every
Mm.
action that you do affects the story in some massive way.
Mhm.
And while Baldur's Gate is great for that, I am having a lot of fun turning my mind off slightly, and not worrying about all that and just being like, I'm in a cool action movie. I'm basically doing Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves in a video game,
Yeah,
and it's great.
exactly. Yes, where you're playing through a very like this is a linear-ish story. It's a linear story with forks in the road. That's how I would describe it. And so and the more forks in the road you go down, the more the story changes, but it's not like if I beat the game and you beat the game, we would have had different experiences, but we wouldn't have had completely different experiences. We would know what each other's talking about. So
Mhm.
yeah, I really like the game. I think for me, it's probably like an 8 or a 9 up there. I think that my harshest criticism of it is that I don't feel like the game does anything innovative or new. But I do think what it has done for me, and I voiced this last week on the pod, is like I've never really completed a Dragon Age game. I've gotten close, but it always it wears me out by the time I get to the end of a Dragon Age game. And
Mm.
this game does a very good job of trimming the fat and being like, hey, all of that annoying stuff in RPGs that you really wish you didn't have to do, like all of the inventory management for all these useless items that you're going to find in the world. It's like, yeah, in Baldur's Gate, it's cool that you can wield a salami and fight with a salami. And that's great in its own regard, but that speaks to how Baldur's Gate is really the D&D game, and this is not a D&D game. This is a video game RPG. And that is what it
Right.
is. And I like how it has simplified a lot of the things. I like the combat a lot. Like I am playing as a mage, but I'm playing as a spellblade, and so it's a combination between melee combat and magic, and I find that really great. I know a lot of people have been complaining about the sponginess of enemies, with enemies having too much health. I'm playing on normal. I feel like the bosses are spongy, but I feel like bosses should be spongy.
Mm.
So I don't really have a problem with that. But I also I noticed that they have incorporated combos and detonations and explosions from the Mass Effect series. And because I'm
Mm.
a huge Mass Effect fan, that's something that I'm very accustomed to doing. And that with a combination of this Guardians of the Galaxy, you do this and you do that to combo together, and then I'll do this to maximize damage. I really haven't had problems with enemies being spongy. But
Mhm.
that being said, I'm not 50 hours into it, so it could get really bogged down and spongy 50 hours into it. But
Well, I think that there's a lot of granted, you can also go in and just crank that down.
just
You
crank it
can
down.
just there's a lot of I'm trying to what's the right word accessibility options
Yeah.
to make the game playable for you, because I think I just want you to experience this story, which is great. But what I will say about the game is it feels like a BioWare game in, for me, every good way that you can say that, and I'm sure for some, if you don't like BioWare games, the pejorative way of saying that, but the game really just feels like a return to something that's comfortable, where it's an RPG that is pretty heavily tailored towards you, a lot of animations, but the writing's not incredible. The writing is good.
Hmm.
The character interactions,
Yeah.
I am coming to care about them more and see their interactions, and I would say they're Buffy level. I just care about these people in a kind of schlocky, fun way.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it is kind of in the exact right position I wanted it to be, and I'm sure for some people it's not what it is. I guess a lot of the pushback on this game, the majority of the pushback on this game, is not from people who are playing this game.
Hmm.
Uh, and that is the thing that bums me out the most. There are a lot of tourists to the Dragon Age like series
Ah, okay. Yeah.
that are showing up and using it as a way to argue that everything is woke now, or oh, your character can be trans, the world is ending. When in every Dragon Age game you could do same-sex romances, you could make characters that were non-binary. Like, it has been a thing.
Yes. Also, it's an
I think,
RPG. Like, you literally get to design a character. You should be able to design whatever character you want. Like, what are we talking
yeah,
about?
right. It's
So,
fantasy has traditionally, I think, I mean, if you look at it from most perspective, fantasy is traditionally a way for people to sort of like talk about problems like racism or sexism, but they do it by painting like uh, instead of people being different colored skins, there's different types of there's elves, there's humans, like they're creating those dynamics and telling stories that are usually pretty progressive, and there's a lot of um, stupid people in the world who are like, no, it's just that they were fighting a dragon and there's nothing more, and Aragorn needs to be white.
oh, you're referencing the magic card. Yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly that's why I got into Magic again.
Mhm.
Is I was like, there's a lot of people upset about this beautiful black Aragorn. I'm gonna buy a lot of these cards just so that Magic knows, give us more,
Yes.
upset the trolls. But
Yeah, I guess we should. Well, we should talk about that maybe, like with the wokeness and whatnot. So there's a lot of people online saying that I've seen the meme of like it shows Dragon Age Origins and then it shows Dragon Age Veilguard. It's like Dragon Age identifies as Dragon Age, and it's just like, no, this is a modern Dragon Age, guys.
yeah,
That's what this is. It's a modern Dragon Age. Sorry if you don't like it. If you want to go play Dragon Age Origins, I invite you to go play a very old and dated game. So, like, have at it.
it's right. It's still there. Go enjoy.
Yeah. So, like, I think there's other people that are upset because, like, the first three companions that you get in the game are all women. You know,
Oh
oh
no!
no.
Ah, woke game.
Yeah, and there's a non-binary character. Oh my goodness. It's weird to me that Dragon Age is getting this flack, but Baldur's Gate did not. And Baldur's Gate, I feel like you had so much more flexibility of like what you could do, and all of these characters' sexualities and everything. And so I think what's happening is like we're kind of seeing a difference in the market between these two games. And I feel like the market for Dragon Age is not the same as Baldur's Gate. And like we talked about previously with like, this is the D&D game, whereas this is the video game RPG audience over here.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately we're seeing some of the, people crawl out and complain about it. But yeah,
Well, I think that's the thing is Dragon Age is such kind of like a monument now in terms of fantasy role playing games in the mainstream. Like the first, second, and third one were all very very popular, and I think that people have attached to that, like maybe people who barely even played them, but they've attached to it like relevance. Um, and so when a game that has relevance has the woke mind virus or whatever, it makes them more upset. But it's like that you didn't understand any of the previous games. And Baldur's Gate is kind of, if you played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, you're hardcore. You're an original OG. But I do think like Baldur's Gate 3 when it came out was like this new quantity that I think a lot of people picked up and enjoyed, and like enjoyed that you could do all this stuff. And it is a group of people that are a little bit more open around that stuff. So my threads, which is Twitter, but for
Instagram.
not bad people.
Oh,
Yeah. My threads feed is all about how like Agatha all along slapped ass and how good Dragon Age Veilguard is. Which is really, really, I feel like it's a lot of the same people are just like, yeah, this thing is gay and awesome. And
yeah.
it makes you really happy, you know?
Just to get back on like the mechanics of the game for Dragon Age, like one of the things I really want to applaud it on is I think that more so than any other Dragon Age game, it has a great sense of momentum, where it's like you can just keep playing the game and it doesn't, like I said, like bog you down with inventory management or complicated systems. And look, I know that some gamers, they like those systems. I don't. I want to be able to play through a narrative story, or and I feel like this is the Dragon Age that is closest to Mass Effect that I have ever seen. Like I would say it's almost more of a Mass Effect game than it is a Dragon Age game, where it feels like Mass Effect. There are things and choices that you make, but you're not, it doesn't have the tedium that a traditional Dragon Age game has. And it doesn't have the, also, like, people can't make up their minds. People are complaining about, like, oh, there's no hinterlands. It's like, do you know how many people complained about the hinterlands and how, like, there were too many quests and it was too open and it was just this endless sea of things that you had to do before you experienced any story that actually meant anything. And now they're like, now it's too streamlined because it's an open world, but it's more like a Borderlands open world where it's like you can go to this city, but this is the city map. And that's what you can do in the city. You can go do quests, but
I mean, listen, I love the hinterlands. I love going and find the rifts and like fighting the really intense boss battles. A lot of fun. But I also really respect what they're doing here. In terms of their momentum, like you were saying, there is a really great bit. So there's a narrator for the game. As you're playing, the narrator sort of tells you what's going on. But the narrator always, like when you wrap up a chapter or like a character's loyalty mission, they will tell you something, like basically what happened. They recap it in a very concise way. And they go, but actually, here's another problem. So it gives you like the A to B of like, oh,
yes,
something's waiting. So it keeps you moving forward in the story. It's so well done.
it really is. And so it's like, I get that things have been trimmed, but it's a great point with the momentum. Narratively, it does a very good job of, yeah. So
visually, I love the character design too. like
and the graphics are amazing. I think everyone's looking at the character models, and because the character models are a little cartoony, where it's like, I think I said this last week, it feels like a little like Vox Machina, as opposed to like realism. But the graphics in general are like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. Everywhere I go in Dragon Age, I'm like, oh, I should take a screenshot. Like, it's great.
Like, there's parts where the gravity is like, oh no, my headphones came off. I'm gonna keep talking though. Parts where the world is like being pulled up by a reverse gravity. They're back on. We're good. And like so many just beautiful vistas. But I think even like when you're talking to characters, I like the fact that they don't look exactly realistic, because it allows them to like be that much more like draped in the light of the world. They look like they fit in this very high fantasy setting, because they are kind of cartoony. And I think that is like, I don't know.
It's a style choice. It's a style choice. Not that they couldn't be realistic. It's like this. It's stylized in a certain way, and that's how they wanted it to look. Yeah.
It's got an ageless quality. Super Mario Sunshine looks great because it was built to look a specific way.
Yes.
I think this has the same quality.
Yeah. So overall, I am really enjoying it. Is it game of the year for me? Probably not. I haven't beat it yet, but probably not. But I would agree with Metacritic, like 8.5 sounds good. I think like also the voice acting you brought up a little bit earlier. I think the voice acting is overall pretty good, but there are characters that are inconsistent to me. Like Neve or Nev. I think it's Nev.
Oh, Nev, yeah.
I don't like her voice actor at all. And she's the like one of the first companions you get, and she's online. She is clearly the number one romance option. And I was like, I don't like your voice actor. This is not happening. It's like you're one of these classic people who has a very interesting voice, but you are not inflecting it in any way. Everything just sounds the same. And so yeah. Is there any voice acting that stuck out to you that you didn't jive with?
Nothing I didn't jive with. I will say just early on, you get your sort of like assassin for your team that you like recruit.
Yes.
And that guy is freaking great.
He's Puss in Boots, man. He's Puss in Boots. He even has a rapier. Like
he's Puss in Boots and audio editore slammed together.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely replaying this one for a while. I don't know if it's game of the year. I know it's not game of the year for me because there is a little robot watching over everything I do going, Remember the good times we had, Phil? Remember when I had you fight Donkey Kong? So
remember to check out those new levels.
I know. I kind of want to wait for all of them to come out and then just blast through them.
I think there's one more after this week to release. But yeah, I went back and played those levels for Astrobot, by the way. That's what we're talking about. And I got the Helldiver Astrobots. They added them into the game. So that was great.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Any more thoughts on Dragon Age before we wrap up the pod here, Phil? Any more last little cookies at the bottom of the cookie jar?
Yeah. I guess I normally I was playing I play magic classes in these games. I switched over to the rogue class for this one, and man, it feels great. It feels so cool. Yeah. The magic and all the sort of stuff that you do feels kind of pared down. And I think like the general concise of this game is that it's been pared down a little bit, but it just works.
Right.
It just works so well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I for RPGs I used to play the rogue all the time. That used to be my go-to class. But I just found, like, I remember my long playthrough through Inquisition was a rogue. And I hated it because it was such a difficult class to play. And it definitely feels like in this game, or I don't know, I can't really speak to it because I haven't played as the other classes, but like combat just feels good. And it doesn't. So if you're saying the rogue plays well, I know the warrior plays well. That's great to hear. Yeah. I think, one little criticism I would have is like, I think, part of the game being pared down a little bit is that you can't play as any of your characters. Like you can't switch to them in combat. And I don't really mind that too much. I think the only thing that I don't like about it is that in previous Dragon Age games, like when I would play Inquisition and be the rogue, I'd be like, all right, I've played the rogue a lot. Let me switch to Iron Bull so I can try out what a warrior feels like, even if I didn't have to make a character to find out what that feels like. I don't have to play the intro 3 times, because you're not the only friend who's told me that they've done that, where they replayed the intro a bunch of times just to figure out the class. So
I wish they had a way in game, like diegetically, that you could choose which class. And there's even a moment where it's like, there's my gear. You reach Harding and it's like, you've got my gear. She goes, yeah. And it's your weapon right there. And it's like kind of shot and a generic shot and your stuff is there. So that would be great if you could pick and then be like, do you confirm that this is what you want to use?
Yeah. Or even at the beginning of the game, be like, you want to just like an isolated, not related to the story or anything. It's like, class
the story of some great hero, the story of some great thief, you play like a little bit.
Yeah. Just like a little level so you can feel what it's like. I think that would be a great addition. And it sounds like there are some updates coming out for the game. There's no DLC coming to Dragon Age. I think EA is very firm about, kind of feels like Star Wars Squadrons, where it's like, this is the game that we are releasing. We don't want to deal with any of the other stuff. So this is what you get. So, yeah.
I respect that so much more. Like, hey, here's the whole thing. Enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. It also feels complete. I'm not wrestling with a bunch of bugs all the time. So, all right. We got to wrap it up. We are out of here. thank you for listening to episode 55 of the GGG Podcast. If you enjoyed the episode and you listened all the way to the end, please like and subscribe over on our YouTube page. And if you're listening to the audio-only version on Spotify or Apple Podcast, give us a follow over there as well. We would appreciate it. We'll be back next week. Have a good election, everybody. And I'm excited it's November.
If your election lasts for longer than 2 weeks, go ahead and contact Britain, and we'll just reabsorb. Let's just get back in there.
We'll just get back. Yeah. Everybody wants the monarchy back anyway. So
at this point,
All right. Peace out, everybody.